guys, hello. Welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. And if you're watching this, you've probably already seen the news. It's what we expected. Mr. Gary O'Neill has taken the top job at the Molineux. And obviously, as the video title says, is he the Messiah or a mistake? Scott, it's been a crazy window, but it's been a criminal week to be a Wolves fan. I mean, I'm just going to pass it over to you right away. Where do we be? I don't want to start off on a negative because we've got to back him. We have to back this guy. So let's just say what we've got to say first, and we'll move on to him.
I think it's really important to, obviously, as you say, to back him. And I think what's really interesting is obviously the statement put out, obviously, when Lopetegui left, because, of course, we've known this is, well, we'll say the board have known, and he's known this has been coming for a couple of weeks. And it's kind of smart in a way that we kept him on. Let's, if we're going to try and find the positive, we kept Lopetegui on, he decided to stay on. And, of course, we've done a proper process to bring in Gary O'Neill. No wonder that this is going to be a manager that divides opinion. Would he have been my first choice? Let's be honest, no. Would he probably have been in my top 10 names? Maybe unlikely, but there is some good points with him. And I think we've also got to discuss where we are in a club as we stand. And I've seen certain names brought up, and obviously we'll dive into this more, but where I just think, let's be real here. We aren't going to get those type of caliber of managers anymore. Maybe if we're still competing for Europe, or we could give him a transfer, some that they could come in and put their time stamp on and put their stamp on the team. But, this is the manager that's coming in. And he's going to have to work with a real shoestring budget, isn't he, for at least the next year?
I mean, obviously his last job didn't work out that good, but I don't even say that well, I should say. I can't even speak English anymore. Graham Potter, I mean, this guy was managing out in, was it Denmark or Sweden? I think it was Sweden, wasn't it? Somewhere. He obviously did a good job, but, not that long ago, he was a university teacher. I don't think he takes a Wolves job. I don't think we attract Graham Potter anymore. Forget the fact he came from Chelsea. It didn't work. He flopped. But I don't think we get managers like that. How picky can we be? Which is a surprise because I actually looked at the squad because I've been very doom and gloom lately, thinking we are in a big struggle this season. I do think we will be. But I looked at the squad and on paper, it's a decent to good squad. We've got 3 centre backs. That's criminal.
A worry.
We have to rectify that. We've got 3 Premier League starting left backs. We've got cover at right back now. We've got 4 or 5 very good midfielders.
Agree.
I
think Gary O'Neill walks into this feeling like he's absolutely hit the jackpot. I mean, all he's got to do in the eyes of the media is keep Wolves up. For me, that should be an easy job. People keep on saying we're going to go down, and I refer to what you've just said. Look at our squad before that judgment. Maybe if we're sitting here in 3 months' time and we've got injuries to centre-backs, okay, we might be in a bit of trouble. I still maintain that we might still see a centre-back come in. I've not fully given hope that we won't see anything at all. I think it might depend on, we might have to get rid of a player like Podence, for example, and then that money would then be used to get in like Elvedi, who we've been linked to. But, I think Gary O'Neill is inheriting a really good squad. And I think one thing I want to bring and start a positive on is he's going to come in feeling like he's won the jackpot. And you know what? That is going to transfer onto the players, because there's no doubt that Lopetegui is a better manager than Gary O'Neill. Without being harsh to Gary O'Neill, that's just a fact. Lopetegui's got so much more experience. But when you're just hearing all the time a grumpy guy in the media going, my team's not good enough for the league, like, having someone that's going to come in and believe in the team at least, surely that's going to be a good thing for them.
You'd think so, because it shifted almost overnight. Up until about a week ago, everyone was on Lopetegui's side.
Yeah.
Jeff Shee, what's he doing? Where's our business? Why don't we add the extra 2 million that Bristol City want for Alex Scott? Just get him in. Everyone was on Lopetegui's side. And almost overnight, it felt like around about the weekend, Friday, Saturday, people went, do you know what? Give it a rest. although our squad isn't amazing, we've had better Premier League squads. It's not that bad. I almost feel
No,
like now fans are starting to say, and you're one of them because in our Wolves group chat, you were back in Lopetegui saying, "I don't blame him if he
agree.
walks, he deserves better." And now you're like, "Do you know what? I'm sick of it. The weekend, the football's the season starts this week. Get on
Well,
with
I
it."
think I think we saw, didn't we? We saw in the friendly game on Saturday. I think that's what changed everyone's mind. We're moving with quick flowing
Yep,
football. And we had some good options even off the bench, and even the fringe
we
players
did.
looked pretty decent. So I think
Fabio
Gary
looked good.
O'Neill comes in feeling like he's really hit the jackpot. But him and as a manager, let's be honest, he's not experienced. His only managerial experience is with Bournemouth. Apart from that, he was a caretaker manager at Bournemouth and an assistant manager.
Yeah,
And the assistant manager experience he has was under Scott Parker for 55 games and Jonathan Woodgate for 18 games. I mean, these aren't decorated managers. It's not like he's been
no,
learning under Pep Guardiola or under, a manager of his caliber. And of course, he also
yeah.
did have a time as an assistant manager at the under 23s of Liverpool. But he has been highly regarded. His coaching has been highly regarded. And, I do worry about
From
his lack of
Bournemouth fans,
experience.
let's say that. Not the Bournemouth fans. That's a
No.
majority. They can't stand him, and we'll
Well, they
come
don't
on to
like
that
him now.
very shortly.
Bournemouth
Oh
don't
yeah,
like him
they
now.
they were singing his name with 3 games to go when they were safe by the middle of May, weren't they? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of them. It's just funny how it changes very much overnight. But yeah, as you were saying, his experience isn't there. If he's mainly been a caretaker, if we'd have taken, say, Eric Ten Hag's assistant from United or Arteta before, obviously, went to Arsenal. If we'd have got a name like that, I feel like we'd have been a bit more upbeat. It's just Gary O'Neill. It's not Gary Onana, is it? Or Gary O'Nelly. And then it probably sounds a little better. It's Gary O'Neill.
But let's touch on it a little because it has been in discussion and we did touch on it a tiny bit at the start. People have been speaking about Graham Potter. You said he wouldn't have come. I completely agree. Another name that was touted, Ree Van Nistelrooy, I think just purely because of what he did
I
with
like him.
PSV. But
I like the way he
he left
talks.
PSV due to the lack of transfer plans.
But
So
I
why
think
would he have come to us? Why would he have
no,
come
I
to
get
us?
that. I think that's a slightly different entity, just because having no funds in the in Eredivisie is very different to managing a solid Premier League team. I think we would have got rude. I
True,
think we would
but
have.
we've got, you've got to think what have we got to offer to attract a new manager? And really, what we've got is a good base squad. But sorry, there's no funds for you this season anyway to come in, make it your own, and do what you can with it. You've got to work with what we've got. We're even been led to believe in some articles that we haven't even got the funds to even get free agents in at this point. Which is just really laughable that we've been put in this situation. But that would, let's be honest, that would have affected the caliber of person that you're going to get in. So I wanted to touch on something that has been reported. 3 managers were potentially touted that we could get in and would be interested. Those 3 were Gary O'Neill, Frank Lampard, and Dean Smith. Take it
I
away,
mean,
because I think that speaks for itself. And surely we chose the best option out of those 3 by a long mile.
what do you want? Do you want AIDS, cancer, or a brain tumor? Do you know what I mean? It's like, especially Lampard and Dean Smith. I mean, forget that. I probably would have stopped watching Wolves. I'd have done the channel still, but I would have done the watch along sort of. I wouldn't have if we signed either of those two. But anyway, we didn't, so thankfully we don't have to talk about it. When you've got, and again, I want to get this out of the way so we can talk about moving forward. When you've got Gary O'Neill, who is the best, not just about, but when Gary O'Neill is the best by a long way, standout manager option of a
Yeah.
3-man shortlist, you're in big trouble.
You
You're in
are, but is this not deja vu about what Gary O'Neill did? Because of course, we have got to focus on where we find ourselves. Well, last year, 12 months ago, Scott Parker walked because he said, I haven't got the backing and I don't believe this squad can survive in the Premier League. We've pretty much had the same exact thing happened. And look what ended up happening to Bournemouth. And I'd also argue Bournemouth fans keep on banging on about he didn't really do anything. He wasn't that good. He's very defensive. He was defensive in the way that he managed. What did they expect him to
You,
do with that squad?
I'm sorry, but I can't. One, I can't take a Bournemouth fan seriously about football. I refuse to talk about football with a Bournemouth fan. But secondly, like you're not AC Milan. You're
Yeah.
not even Leicester of 4 years ago, 3 years. What do you want to play Barcelona football, Bournemouth, and be challenging for chop? You're Bournemouth.
With
You
the
only
players
have
they
a
had in the
capacity.
first half of the season, especially.
Do you know what? Yeah, pre-January. I mean, any club that only can accommodate 65 away fans in their ground, don't be talking about we should be having this and that. I'm sorry, forget Bournemouth. Get rid of them out of the league. But do you know what this reminds me of? You mentioned deja vu. It's also deja vu. Do you remember how we all felt as fans when Bruno Lage took over? We were like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Some guy that hasn't got much experience. We don't really know much about him. I'm not saying O'Neill's going to take us to fighting for Champions League, Europa League, but it does have that smell about it again. We only know Gary O'Neill more because he manages in the Premier League or did manage in the Premier League with Bournemouth. But it's got that feel again. You know, we never knew Nuno when he came in. We never knew Bruno.
And
So
I think if this was a Spanish league, he was coming from the Spanish league, and we hadn't really, let's be honest, we hadn't really watched a lot of someone towards the
yeah,
bottom, but we read about how he managed to save this team that everybody wrote
let's
off. We'd
let
probably be
let's say he
absolutely
came.
buzzing.
Let's say he came from Deportivo or someone like that, and he played good football or kept them up on a shoestring budget. We'd probably go, yeah, do you know what? But it's just because of his name, Gary O'Neill. Scott, let's jump into the tactic side of things a little bit because there's a few conflicting things. Some Bournemouth fans say something. What I've read online is very different. I've seen some Bournemouth fans saying that he's very, very defensive. He likes a 3-4-3, sometimes a 3-5-2. I've seen online that he loves a 4-4-2 and then the second striker dropping in as a 4-4-1, but he will drop into a back three mid-game or towards the end of the game should he need to. What would you rather see? Do you want to go back to the three at the back days, or do you want to see a 4-4-1 to utilise the midfield we've got?
Well, I mean, firstly, we can't go three at the back because we've got three centre backs, so that says it all, doesn't it? I mean, let's just be clear here. There's only really one option we can only go for at the back. I think we have to use a four. I think we do have to use a 4-2-3-1. I think that's what works well with our team as well. You know, you've got João Gomez, you've got Lamina that'll just be chopping up everything. In the 70th minute when they're tired, you've got the options of Boubacar Traore, who's very energetic. And you've also got Hodge as another option as well that I do like.
And don't forget, Nunes will start on the right, but if there is an injury to one, Nunes can drop into that central role. And then you've got the likes of Neto, Sarabia, Hwang. We've got players. We're gonna be a little bit like Liverpool this season. Their attacking threat is incredible, but their defense and defensive midfield isn't great. We're a little bit like that. We're going to concede a lot of goals this season. I feel like we will score more than we did last season.
And I do have to say, I do have to give some stats about O'Neill, and that's why I was briefly getting this graphic up on my phone, and I will bring it up on screen as well. But AFC Bournemouth, they under O'Neill, 59 most goals conceded, 514, which was the most shots faced in his time.
I've seen this.
281, which was the fewest shots taken, 206 fewest key passes, and 39% average possession. I mean, obviously, those are not stats
I'll just say, though,
to delight fans, but is there still this debate that it's a mix between maybe his style and what he did have to deal with as well? Because I feel our squad is better, and I think he's going to have more license and have more to use that attacking outlet. And as you said, you look at our squad, we've got some good options, haven't we? I mean, you know, we can debate the starting lineup, but I think there's only really one formation he can go for. He could technically also play two up front, big man, little man, maybe with a manager like Gary O'Neill.
Silva's not that little. Silver's about 6'1", 6'2". I don't think he's little, but
Well,
I
you
know what
can't
you
call him
mean
little,
there.
man. But compared to Sasha, he's little.
Compared to Sasha. Oh, I just want to jump onto the back of what you just said because you brought up a very good point, and I think it needs expanding. You mentioned those stats of what he did last season, and listen, if Bournemouth would have scored 18 goals last season, but it was all 18 1-0 wins, and you stay up, fair enough. Who gives a damn? But look at what he did with that squad. Look at what Lopetegui, and I'm not throwing shade at Lopetegui. He kept us up, and it was an incredible job of what he did. But you compare Lopetegui's squad to O'Neill's at Bournemouth. How many goals did we score last season? Was it 31? I think we ended on 31 in 38, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 32. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. We didn't take a lot of shots last season, or if they were, it was Neves specials from 45 yards. Our possession, it might have been okay. We conceded a lot of shots on goal. So
But
I don't
let's not
think our
forget under
stats.
Lopetegui, we faced a 5-0 defeat, a 4-0 defeat, and a 6-0 defeat.
And those teams, it's not like it was. Well, Brighton was the 6-0. So let's be
Yeah,
honest.
Arsenal was the 5, and then was it
Even last game of the season. We got pumped 3-4-0 quite a few times
Leeds
last
scored
season. But
4
yeah,
passes, if I'm not mistaken?
Leeds put 4 past us as well. So my point is, yeah, Gary O'Neill might not have had great stats, but go and check Lopetegui's with the squad he had. They weren't pulling up trees. We didn't score a lot of goals. So, yeah.
I mean, final few questions then. As a Wolves fan, what does Gary O'Neill have to achieve to become just an okay success? What would make him a massive mistake, to answer our question of the video? And what would, in your eyes, make him a messiah?
A good job, in my opinion, is 15th because I still don't rate him that highly. Now, he's our manager, don't get me wrong, the jury's still out. But 15th, if we finish 15th or above, I'm happy. Messiah, I mean, if we're fighting for Europe with 4 games to go, I'd call him a Messiah and say, give him a chest for next season. Do you know what I mean? The
Would you not
season
say that
after.
if he even got us into the top 10,
No,
considering?
I don't. I looked at our squad, mate. I think we're a top 12 squad. Let's be honest. So if he finishes 2 places above where I think we should be, I'm not going to call him a messiah. If he gets to the Carabao Cup final and finishes 9th, maybe or something like that. But a mistake is, I don't think he'll get long. I really don't. We know that Wolves are quite trigger happy when they need to be, especially she and Fossen. I think if we're in the relegation zone by Christmas, I think he's gone.
I think it's an interesting one because it was brought up on our live yesterday that FFP restrictions actually firing a manager doesn't count to FFP, so we can fire managers at free will. And obviously, he'll be actually on a lot less wage than probably Lopetegui too. I think for me, job done would just be keeping us up. I think we should be a lot better than that. But I think if he keeps us up, he's done all right for me. I think for it to be kept on beyond another season, I'm probably in the same element as you, around that 15th position for me. As long as he's playing at least some not drab football would be enough. And then, for me, Messiah status, Messiah's a big word in it, but like, let's go really, really good. Like, if he could get us even 12th or higher, I think, this is a guy that we should be giving a war chest to. I really do.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I don't think many fans will disagree with that. I really
Guys,
don't.
obviously let us know your thoughts on all this as well. Where have we maybe gone wrong, slipped up on things, and what are you expecting from O'Neill? Can he keep us up? And more importantly, he would be a realistic alternative, because I don't think some of the names I'm seeing have been realistic at all.
Mick McCarthy's like 30-1. That says it all. He was 30-1, I should say.
Mick and Terry Connor.
When Mick McCarthy's like 8th favourite, you're struggling. Anyway, guys,
guys, let us know your thoughts. Obviously, I think we're both agree. Time to get behind him. Let's give him our support, and the players as well. Let's not blame them for what she and co have done. Like, subscribe. See you on the next one. Goodbye.